Hello everyone. As I have been discussing difficult feelings and how to tackle them, in my previous video I've spoken about sadness and how to handle that. Today I have brought with me a new emotion that we'll be talking about, something that we all feel, yet we don't understand how to deal with it. It takes us a lot to understand that this is one emotion which governs our life majorly, and it makes our life majorly unmanageable. Learning to tackle this particular emotion may actually improve the quality of our lives drastically, and that is exactly what we are going to aim at in this video. So the emotion that we are talking about today is fears. Yes, how to tackle our fears. Before I start off with today's video, I want you to think of what is it that you're most scared of. So just bear that in mind while we go along with today's video. Now, the best part about fear is it's a learned response. This particular emotion is not something that we are born with and we cannot do anything about it. All emotions or behaviors or habits which are learned can be unlearned. So this is the fortunate part about this particular emotion that we are going to talk about. How can we unlearn fears? How can we do away with our fears and start living life on the front foot is something that we want to discuss today. So what do? By ourselves, if we are trying to tackle our fears, what we can do is practice regular self-discipline. Some regular self-disciplinary measures can help us cope with our fears or do away with certain primary fears that we have. If that doesn't work, then therapy definitely works. So today I'll also be talking about a few therapeutic tools, but I would like to set in a disclaimer right at the beginning that do not go about using it without the help and supervision of a trained professional. It's not going to give you the best results, and it's best done under supervision. So we will be talking about things that you can do on your own and things you need to do with the help and guidance of a trained professional. So before we move into how to tackle our fears, I want to talk about what are some of the most common and basic fears. Okay, so what are some of the most commonly found fears? The first one that I identified in the list is fear of socializing. Yes, lots and lots of people are extremely uncomfortable, in fact fearful of meeting unknown people, meeting people in gatherings, having to address strangers, having to address people they might know also. So this extreme discomfort which leads to palpitation, sweating, feeling nervous. So this is one of the most common forms of fear, one of the most commonly found fears. The next one is the fear of being in open space. Say places which are too big, too vast, may overwhelm some people. They might start feeling insecure. They might start feeling that this is threatening their sense of being. So this is the next one. Then is fear of heights. There are lots and lots of people who fear, say, taking a plane ride or bungee jumping. The thought of it, that absolutely freaks them out. Then thought of, there are lots of fears like fear of insects, fear of snakes, fear of fear of animals, fear of dogs. So these are very commonly found fears which we realize that there is no reason for it yet, or there is no apparent connection between our fears and those objects that we fear. Yet we have an idea in our head that we are going to be harmed by it. There's a perceived threat, and that leads us to be absolutely petrified of that particular object or situation. Then Another very commonly found fear is fear of needles. There are a lot of people who delay their annual checkups, or maybe some vaccines that need to be taken, or maybe blood work which needs to be done because of a simple fear of needles. So these are some of the commonly found fears that we can see all around us. Now we will look at what this fear actually is in a greater details. Now, if we are to define what is fear, it is a very natural, it's a very abundantly found, very powerful human emotion. It has two kinds of reactions. One is a biochemic reaction and the other is an individual emotional reaction. So it's a combination of these two reactions, and also it basically the threat or the fear can be from two sources. One could be an imaginary source and the other could be an actual incident that has happened to you and that has caused you some amount of discomfort, and the memories of that stays on. So these are the two bases of our fear. It could be false or imagined, or it can have a real life significance to it. Now we will look at what are the symptoms that we see, which we can identify, and we know that if we are facing any of this, that means there is a fear that is looming in our head. Now, what are the commonest of symptoms or situations that we see where we find that we are fearful? The first one, there is palpitation happening. Your heartbeat rate goes up. You break out into cold sweat. There is trembling. Then there could be chest pains. There could be dry mouth. Then there could be rapid heartbeat. Sometimes you also get stomach upset. Then you have shortness of breath. You start sweating profusely. So these are all some symptoms of feeling some sort of fear. When you feel any of this, you can straight away go on to identifying what is it that I am fearing. What is threatening me in my surroundings or in my life, in my environment? So that becomes a very, very crucial factor in recovering from our state of fear, when we are able to identify the object of our fears. Now we move on to the treatment part of it. How do we overcome it? How do we get better? Now this I have divided into two parts. Something that you can do on your own and something that needs therapeutic assistance. So first and foremost, like we all believe that we should try things on our own and see if we can tackle those fears. If it works for you, nothing like it. That's the best solution. But if you can't handle it, if you still feel fearful, there is always therapeutic help available. Please understand, and there is no shame in seeking help. So the first one that you can do by yourself is seek social support. Yes, you can have supportive people around you who can help you talk it out, thrash it out, and understand whether your fears have any real basis to it, or you are just caught in a web of feelings, or you're caught in the loop. So that is one. The second thing that you can try on your own is practice mindfulness. Yes, when you practice mindfulness, you also practice not being in that negative thought state all the time. A lot of times our fears are because also of we are constantly predicting something bad will happen. We are constantly foreseeing, or we are literally manifesting bad things in our life. So when you live mindfully, you start being mindful of your negative thought patterns. The next one is you can use various stress management strategies. You can practice breathing exercises. You can learn progressive relaxation techniques. You can even try visualizations. There are a lot of visualization exercises. So these are things that you can all try and do on your own at home or with the help of your loved ones. Now we will move on to what you can do with a therapist, or what are the various therapeutic tools. I can't give out all of them, and it's not even fair to simplify it this way, but there are two techniques I would like to talk about today, which is very commonly used with people who come with a lot of fears and who want to tackle those fears and get better. Their lives have gotten hindered because of those fears. So what are they? Are something that I will be talking about, those two tools. Okay, so the first therapeutic tool that I'm going to discuss that we very commonly use, it's called systematic desensitization. What is that? Very simple. How do we do it? Suppose someone comes in with a fear of dogs. Someone who's extremely fearful of dogs. How do you cure this person of it? First, we start talking. When we talk in that therapeutic setup, we start talking about various incidents related to dogs, just as a conversation starter. So gradually we move on to pictures of dogs. Then we go on to probably watching clips of dogs. Then it could be, say, gradually having a toy dog in front of you and starting to pet it or even touch it and see how whether you're still palpitating seeing the dog or even talking about it or not. And once you are comfortable, gradually your comfort level is built. So then you start probably going near a dog, probably in a controlled environment. Maybe someone has the pet in a leash, but you are just going in and around the dog. So the chances of the dog pouncing on you is not there, yet you are exposing yourself. This process basically talks about gradual exposure to the object of your fear, so that eventually you start realizing that that thing that you were fearing is actually not going to harm you or hurt you, and you are not really that fearful anymore. So when you start realizing that you are in a room where you also see a dog in the room, and you know that you had this fear of dogs. Right now, if you are not fearing it, and if you've managed to spend half an hour, 45 minutes in that room, that means you have conquered your fear at some level. You have improved from where you started. So gradually exposing yourself to it and gradually understanding that that fear is getting removed. And the more you start feeling like that. I'm someone who had that fear. So I personally worked at it, and a lot of people who know me personally, they know that now I'm comfortable. So this is your therapeutic tool number 1. Now comes the next one. The next therapeutic tool that I want to talk to you about, it's called flooding. It is based on the principle that all fears are learned and hence can be unlearned. So exposing yourself to the object of your fear in good quantity is the concept of flooding. For example, people who have fear of flying. Now you have to take a flight. You've sat on a plane. So what happens there? You're sitting there in a height, and you realize that you are middle of nowhere. There's no land, no nothing. So the point is here to get past that overwhelming anxiety and that overwhelming panic that we have, to a zone where you can confront your fears. When you are in the middle of nowhere, middle of air, what happens? You realize that whether you had that fear or not, you had to do it. And when a lot of times why we don't get past it is we don't go to that level where we become conscious, when we become mindful of it. We just do it because we have to, and we can consider it as an unpleasant incident to get over with as soon as possible. But if we are to really focus on getting cured of that fear, So it would mean that I become comfortable in the fact that yes, I'm having these overwhelming feelings of anxiety and panic. Now that I'm almost there, now I'm there, there's no way of escaping it. Now I get to confront those emotions that I'm going through, and also realize that it is a safe zone. It is safe for me to confront this fear. There is nothing has happened to me. So eventually I realize that I'm okay. So I'm not in danger. There is no danger. Then what happens? With that fear, that thing that I was fearing, that is also gradually gone. The danger that I had perceived, that I will be mid-air and probably the plane will break into pieces and I will fall from the sky, that's not there anymore. So this is also something that we practice as a therapeutic tool. Now the disclaimer. While these treatments are highly effective, please note that such approaches should be done only with therapeutic supervision. Please do not try doing these on your own, or learning from certain videos or clippings here and there and practicing it. So thank you for watching this extremely lengthy video, and hope to get your feedback. If you have any further questions on the topic, please feel free to get in touch. Until the next video where I come up with another emotion. Thank you. Keep watching.